Good evening, guys. Welcome to the second live stream of the night. So we started off this evening trying to play a little bit of Bannerlord, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. I think the servers were being plagued by a few DDoS attacks or something along those lines. Certainly something that meant the servers were unplayable. So instead, guys, we've decided to do a pivot over to War of Rights, where they have some incredible stuff going on. So if you're not familiar with War of Rights, typically it's an American Civil War game, just like Bannerlord, with these huge several hundred player battles. However, slight caveat now, a slight change to the normal formula. As we're coming up to the 4th of July, they do have an American War for Independence event going on. They did it for the first time last year, and I gotta say, it was absolutely incredible with all the new skins, uniforms, guns. It felt like a whole new game. And guys, they're bringing it back this year, so I cannot wait to try it over the next couple of days. I think they have been running this for the last couple of weeks, just to sort of trial it and make sure it all works before the big day itself tomorrow. And yeah, I think since last year, I think they've made some changes. Not sure what those changes are, but we'll jump in and we'll see. So guys, enough of me talking. Let's get into it and see what's happening on the battlefield. I think we've just spawned into a map where the current match is a couple minutes underway, and let's get an eye of the action. So if we just press this button, see where both the forces are. Okay, we've got a nice British line down here. So let's go down and see what these guys are up to. We've got one regiment over here doing what they can. And then over here, this seems to be where the majority of the action is happening. A second British regiment defending against a line of American Patriots. So in this new game mode, guys, I think they call it the Loyalists versus the Patriots, where the Loyalists are the British Empire in the red, and the Patriots are the Americans, which can be seen here in the blue, running into battle. This guy here getting a shot in. But he gets taken out. I gotta say, guys, even jumping back into this for the first time in a few months, it's absolutely incredible to watch. Looks like that first British line was annihilated, but it seems we do have a second British line over here, which is nicely backing them up. Looks like the Americans were unable to break through, and they reconvene. Yeah, look, you can see here from the flags, really, really strong British line. Americans tried their hardest, but just weren't quite able to break through. Let's have a look. The Americans over here are reforming. New spawns coming in under the flags. Obviously super confusing that some of the Americans do have these Union Jacks on their flags. Although I gather it's because these guys are being as historically accurate as possible. So I guess a lot of these Patriot regiments probably would have been formed up of people that used to fight under the British flag. Have kept their old banners. If anyone's watching and familiar with that time period of history, let me know. If you know why the Americans sometimes sport the Union Jack on their banners, I would love to know why. So it looks like we do have the Americans moving out to the right-hand flank here. Looks like rather than doing a direct attack, they are moving their forces. And yet, looks like the British at the moment aren't aware of the movement because their entire line is facing forwards towards the fence line, where we've got the second half of the American army keeping them in position. So it looks like the current tactic seems to be hold this fence line, make the British think that they're attacking from here, while this second force moves around and attempts to attack them from behind. That said, there does seem to be this small British force here that are moving to counter them. Maybe they know something that the rest of the force doesn't. They seem to be aware that an American attack will be coming through from this direction. How? I'm not sure. Because obviously keep in mind, guys, we as spectators, we get to see the whole battlefield, but these guys, they don't know where the enemy's coming from. They have to do it through line of sight. And yeah, look at that. Just spotted the American flags coming over there. Obviously they're being sensible. I think he understands that the men are outnumbered ever so slightly. They are falling back to their main regiment, likely to inform them of the incoming flank attack. Very, very wise move. We zoom out again. Looks like the British are still unaware of where the Americans are. Yeah, in fact, look, this British regiment has pushed up, trying to locate the main American army, but they're nowhere to be seen. Interesting. Okay, so these guys actually, these are new skins that weren't in the event last year. I don't remember the British having these sort of smaller hats. This must be a different regiment. Yeah, and a much smaller flag this time as well. Very, very cool. I gather the War of Rights developers have put in a lot of effort to get these uniforms looking as historically accurate as possible, you know, with the time that they've got. Just about make out the Americans in the smoke over there. This British regiment doing what they can to fight against them. Just look at these guys, though. How cinematic does that look? Very, very cool scenes on the battlefield today. Okay, look, the Americans getting ballsy. They are charging in. How many have we got? Quite a small regiment here. I don't know if they're going to have the numbers. Although that said, there are more here. It's quite even between the Americans and the British on this side. Let's see if the Americans can take it. That would be very, very fitting for the event that's coming up soon. Yeah, go on, guys. Get in there. Yeah, look at that. Those last few Americans that run in, seal the deal. And that British regiment is completely, completely annihilated. So let's see what's happening front with this other British regiment. Looks like they are still attacking the fence line. But guys, honestly, the American tactic is paying off. This is a tiny American regiment. And the British, they have most of their forces committed to this side, which is allowing the Americans to do a lot of damage coming in from the flanks over here. So let's stick with these guys for a little bit. I will just see if we can turn on some of the UI elements to let us know the actual names of the players. We put this one on timer. Highlight friends, yep. Name tag size, yes, all the name tags should be displaying. Okay, cool. Let's save that. Move back in. Oh yeah, there we go. So here we go, we've got Gerald here, leading this regiment. They are moving to the right to join their American allies. Look here, guys. New British reinforcements coming in. Trying to save their allies who are being annihilated in the distance there as the Americans go by, firing pop shots into them. I'll tell you what, guys, they've got Americans inbound from their right and their left. I think these guys are going to have to reposition soon, otherwise it's going to be all over for them. Let's see what happens. Have they got a commander or an officer leading them? They do. We've got this guy here in the yellow. Conoric. So far they're doing okay, but they need to be wary. Those Americans over on the right hand side there, they move in this direction. This guy is going to want a hot tail out of there as quick as possible. Right, guys, let's just get the chat turned off. Not because I'm expecting anything to be in it, but just because I thought it probably would be good, because it'll gives us more gameplay space, doesn't it? So we can see more of what's going on. There we go. Perfect. So let's have a little zoom out, guys, get a bird's eye view of what's happening on the battlefield. So at the moment, we've got the British split up into 4 different regiments. Looks like on the right there, you can see one facing off against another small American regiment. Over on this side, we've got the British split in 3, descending upon this larger American force over on this side. In fact, down here, looks like we are seeing an engagement. 1 British division going in by themselves. Let's see, guys, if they can pull it off. They are up against a lot of Americans here. If the Americans are aware that these guys are out on a limb, it might be wise for them to charge in. But do you know what, guys? In this thick undergrowth, it's going to be difficult for the officers to see exactly where the enemy are and how isolated these guys are. Moving over here, American skirmishers doing what they can. Oh, but they are being slowly whittled down by the British. Flag bearer is still up though, so they will be getting reinforcements. Not a huge amount of action at the moment. Looks like the Americans are choosing to be fairly passive at the moment. They are currently almost upon the control point. So in War of Rights, guys, this right here, this is the... Well, in fact, no, the control point, I think, is... Oh, it's over there. Here we go. So the Americans at the moment will be trying their best to take this control point away from the British forces. And they'll need to take it in order to win the round. You can see 36 minutes or so on the clock. If the Americans can break through to this control point, they'll be able to take the field. But the British are not making it easy for them. Look, got one battle happening on the right-hand flank over here. Let's zoom in, get a closer look, see what's going on. Got two British regiments over here. You can just about make out some of the silhouettes of the Americans in the tree line over there. Let's have a look. So we've got two British regiments. What are they facing off against over here? This looks to be just a single American regiment. Okay, so really good tactic by the Americans. This one regiment is holding down against two. Oh, so despite being a little bit outnumbered, they are choosing to advance towards the enemy. Oh, guys, this is a good play. I don't know if they're going to have the numbers to take this, but I guess if they get a bit closer, fire off a volley, charge in. Let's see if they can take it. Yeah, obviously they're saying to load buck and ball, which is a much shorter range shot, but tends to spread out a bit more. You're better for accuracy at close range. They are being slowly surrounded though. British in front. In fact, to be fair, I thought they were being surrounded, but I think those guys we saw in the undergrowth were on their team, so it is just the British in front at the moment. Oh, guys, look at this. No other game does warfare like War of Rights. You know, the Americans are slowly whittling the British down here. I feel like if they charged in, they might just be able to take it. Cajun Millet, welcome to the live stream, bud. Yeah, honestly, bud, it has been a while since I was last in War of Rights. It's been good to jump back in actually and see what's going on, especially for the American Independence event that's happening right now. Looking over here, there is a bit of a battle happening on this side. Forward American unit here, holding on for dear life as the British come in, and actually, wise shout, the flag bearer gets out of there with the flag. Back to the main American line. Oh, nice. Cajun Millet. I haven't actually been paying attention to what's happening in War of Rights, but I did see the video announcement for the horses, which I think is a live stream that's happening tomorrow. And actually, do you know what? I didn't really think about it, but the fact that they're doing that horses announcement on the 4th of July, I mean, that's poetry right there, isn't it? But guys, yeah, do you know what? Really, really good reminder. The horses update in the War of Rights community is a bit of a interesting one. You know, people have been saying that the end of the world is more likely to happen than horses arrive in War of Rights. But Yeah, according to the developers, soon. So very, very excited for that update for sure.
Who's that? Oh, never mind.
That was a rainbow.
Yep, every time. See, he can...
Yeah, on this occasion, I'm hoping that that update will be the one that brings everyone back to the game. I'm sure it's more than just horses. I'm sure there's going to be a range of other updates as well, which would be excellent to see. Truth be told, considering this game I think originally came out back in 2018, it's really, really good to see the developers still supporting it. And rightly so, because even in the 8 years since it came out, there hasn't really been another game that rivals it in terms of, you know, quality of kind of like rifle, musket, volley warfare. You know, this is a multiplayer experience like no other game provides. Yeah, honestly, bud, I've heard lots of people say that when the last year one came out. I agree. This should absolutely be its own independent game. Because I think it attracts a very different player base that the normal game just doesn't attract. I think there's definitely some crossover. Like if you were going to draw one of those Venn diagrams with the circles, I'm sure there would be like a huge crossover between the two audiences. But, you know, or even one game, but, you know, you can kind of host servers with the game mode that you want. So here we go, guys. Huge charge from the Americans here. It does seem to be a little bit staggered. One infantry unit going in, not being backed up by the other one. Don't know how effective this is going to be without them all going in at the same time, but let's see. Let's see what happens. Looks like they are charging around on the right-hand flank, or their right-hand flank with the British left. We go over to the British. Looks like they've just seen this attack coming in. Forming up, firing their rifles. Officer there commanding to load bayonets. And the Americans come charging in. I think they will be able to take this side. Not this initial wave, but hopefully the second wave coming in just now will be the one that clears it up. Well, I don't know though, guys. The Americans actually falling back there. Okay, but so are the British. So I think that attack has done what it needed to do. It's dislodged the British from this section of the map, which is going to make it a little bit easier for the Americans to attack from the rear of the enemy. In fact, the main British force over here, I think they've just realised where the enemy have moved to, and they are repositioning their lines. Although at the moment, they are facing in the wrong direction. There are currently very few Americans on their forward-facing line. Okay, but look at this. Officer commanding the troops to reform. They are moving to the left. Okay, yep, look, and they found the main American line over here. Have the Americans spotted this attack, though? They have. Holding more of a skirmish line, I'd say, than like a solid infantry line. I think it is unfortunate, but I don't think they have the numbers. Although that said, maybe they do. There is a second regiment of the Americans coming up on this side. That is huge. I think with this kind of semicircle around the British lines, they will be getting more guns on the British from different angles, which is a really, really good thing to see. Just look down here, guys. What a great, great view. Both teams just choosing to hold the line at the moment. Although, I think the Americans do have the number advantage over here at the moment, so it could be worth them trying to charge in. Okay, but on the other flank, over here, we've got more Americans making a push straight into the British lines. British there, holding firm. But over in the distance here, we do have more Americans charging in, wiping out a British line on this side. Look, you just see the aftermath of this battle that we just missed. We've got to be careful, though. They're in the middle, and British reinforcements are coming in by the fence line there. Although they are attacking in a kind of staggered way. Okay, look at this. So the Americans do now hold the capture point. Look at this. Capture point is here. The Americans are getting on top of it. So this could be huge. So in these game modes, the Americans will need to capture this. and then hold it for a certain amount of time. How are the Americans doing on this side? This British contingent over here seems to be the only one left in the fight. But guys, they are being surrounded. In fact, this American force seems to be going right past them without even realizing that they're there. I think these Americans, or should I say the British, are done for here. I don't think there's a way they're going to come out of this. Especially not now that this line has turned around and faced them directly. And there we go, guys. That is a victory for the Americans. They were able to push through and take over the control point. Really, really good to see. So guys, let's take a second to just chat about the new update that's coming to War of Rights. There is a huge live stream announcement coming tomorrow. I mentioned it a few minutes earlier, but they are, I think, going to be announcing the inclusion of horses in the game imminently. And for anyone that's been playing this game for as long as I have, that is huge news, because horses, I think, must have been announced, what, 5-6 years ago, and it always felt like they were just a few months away. But you know, 6 years has gone by and we haven't yet seen them. And I think from what I hear from the developers, the main reason for that is because horses are, just by definition, very difficult to get into the game, because obviously the guys here, they strive for realism. They don't want to include some janky horses that get stuck on fences, stuck against trees. They want the play experience to be seamless. They did it for artillery, and I assume they're going to be doing it for the same for the horses. So I have huge expectations for this. But if you're not aware, if you go on the War of Rights main channel, they do have an announcement scheduled for tomorrow, I believe, where they'll be revealing a little bit more information about that. So very excited. So guys, if you are joining, it is the American Day of Independence tomorrow. And just in appreciation for that, me, a Brit, we're going to be doing a few reenactments of the battles that would have been fought back in the day. So guys, let me switch back to the game camera and let's take a look at the next round as it spawns in. So we will be doing some more spectating, but we'll get a nice bird's eye view of the entire battlefield. I think we'll follow this one through to the end. So we've got the Patriots, who are the Americans, fighting off against the Loyalists. And okay, yeah, and actually earlier I was asking about what the significance of the Union Jack inside of the Patriot flag was. I guess, historically speaking, that must have been the flag that they used for this time period especially, because I guess those units would have been under the British banner at some point. But you know, guys, this is all about the American fight for their independence. Very cool to see the historic authenticity in this one. So let's take a look. We are spawning into another round. Okay, and actually it looks like we're fighting on a nighttime battle where the British will be defending this church on the hill against an American attack. Oh, just look at these uniforms, guys. I know it's dark and quite difficult to see, but I'll tell you what, one thing you will be able to see with this lighting is the gunshots that go off in the distance. Oh, and there we go. What happened? Did a nuke suddenly explode and light up the sky? I think the admin's there just deciding to override the map settings there. But to be honest, very grateful, because it will lead to some much better footage for this channel for you guys to watch. There we go. Now changing it to nighttime again. There we go. Fair enough. Let's see what they do, but I guess it looks like we're fighting a nighttime battle after all then. And this is what I mean, guys, about the night battles. Whenever you see fire or enemy gunshots, they light up the sky, and they are very easy to spot in this. So British forces moving to the top of this hill, firing at the Americans as they move across the fence line and get into position. And look, we've got one American force there, or regiment, coming in from below, getting a few shots on the British. The British, though, very well-trained professional infantrymen, holding the line, getting those shots off. Oh, the officer there narrowly avoiding getting shot. Oh, and there he goes. So let's see what's happening on the rest of the battlefield. Over on the right, we've got another British regiment. these guys fighting off against the Americans. Looks like the British do have a very, very small numbers advantage on this side. Let's get a nice view from the side here. Have a little look down the line as these guys fire off their volleys. Yeah, look at that. That guy's absolutely right. The Americans choosing to abandon this side. Looks like they don't like what they're seeing. Choosing instead to move towards the American center and set up a defensive line. So I think probably what's going to happen, guys, is the Americans are going to attack on the right-hand side, which you can see happening right now, while the left-hand side plays a bit more defensively. Look at this. If they can take out the men in front of them and turn to their left and flank the British, this could be a great way to gain some ground. In fact, look at that. The hill here working to their advantage, meaning they're just below the hill. British here doing what they can to try and keep the Americans in place. I think at the moment, wise, the Americans don't want to go over the crest of that hill just yet. And once again, lines have been drawn nicely, and we've got another kind of stalemate at the moment. Well, what's this? British forces in the centre, choosing to fall back. So look at this. The Americans moving up and beginning to take the crest of the hill. Very, very nice manoeuvre. However, this regiment is going to need to be careful. That infantry unit we can see behind them, just in the background there, that is the British, and they are firing into the American flanks. The Americans also have British in front of them. It's a precarious position for these guys for sure. Still, they are being backed up on their left flank by the guys over there. Okay, more Americans push on this right-hand side. They do seem to be annihilating the British from over here. So they've got two options now. Either they head towards the capture point while it's less defended. Might be risky because their allies might get wiped out behind them. Or they move to the left and try and flank the British. The British do see it though. They are moving their men to this side. We've now got two British regiments holding the centre, firing at the Americans. Oh, look at the size of this one, guys. Huge, huge regiment. One American Rambo there, trying to get a few kills, but he goes down. There we go, guys. It looks like for now, the British have scared off the American forces, and that attack has come to an end. Emphasis on for now. It could all change in a matter of minutes. There we go, look. The British over here, once again attempting to reclaim the rocks and the hill. Nice fortified position that will help them defend against the Americans attacking on this side. They are pushing out a little bit. I probably would say falling back to the safety of the hill. Probably a good shout for now. At least until they get their numbers spawning back in. See what's happening on the rest of the battlefield. Looks like we've got two very nicely drawn lines at the moment. Most of the British here moving over to their right flank. Looks like they are starting to get aggressive, see if they can push those Americans back. Yeah, moving to the top of the hill. The Americans don't like what they see, choosing to fall back ever so slightly. Guys, this looks so cinematic with the fire in the background. Anyone watching tonight that's less familiar with this game, every single one of these guys is a player. So we are currently watching a battle that contains hundreds of players. In fact, let's check. 281 out of a total of 400 players at the moment. So we've seen bigger events, but this is still quite a big event nonetheless, with almost 300 players taking part. And when I say players, guys, I mean literally every single one of these guys. Each character equals one player. None of this is controlled by AI. So the British here moving to the left. Looks like they're going to try and get a flank on this force here. It is currently sandwiched between these two British regiments. Good shout. However, they might need to reform sooner rather than later because they've also got this American regiment over here to contend with, who are currently firing at this smaller British regiment. Yeah, this is what I mean, guys. Every time one of those shots go off, much easier to see in the night with the flash that goes off with each shot fired. Okay, so push on the American right flank. So rather than attacking directly, we've got a number of troops, 2 regiments by the looks of it, heading around this far right flank. They're going to need to be quick because every second that they spend getting into position is seconds that the British can get the advantage on the Americans on that side. However, it does look like the British have spotted them coming on this side, so they are moving 2 regiments of their own to counter. I think, guys, this battle on here is probably all going to come down to positioning. Whichever side gets their troops into position first, gets those first volleys off, are likely going to take this one. So here we go. Officer commanding the men fall back to the fence, which will provide them with a small bit of protection. Not much, mind you. If you look at these slats, they do block bullets. So you could argue that when the men are behind here, they've got roughly a kind of 40% chance to not get hit. So offering a small level of protection to them indeed. Certainly, if not physical protection, certainly psychological protection. The men will certainly feel more defended behind those. I think we can expect to see the Americans attack from this side soon. I think they're just gathering numbers, forming a plan, and then soon they'll be marching towards these British positions. And yeah, look at this. In the absence of a fence, the British choosing to form up behind this tree, which gives them a nice kind of trench line there. Look at that. Very nice to see. So let's just check the other side of the battlefield. Anything happening? A few American Rambos trying to take the church, but I don't think it's going to work. At the moment, the British choosing to fall back to the fence line as well. More defensible positions. If I was the Americans now, I'd probably move up, see if they can take those rocks. Although, that said, it does look like this American regiment is moving across to their right flank as well. See if they can help out their allies. I mean, it might work, but they'll have to be quick about it. They'll have to make sure that they get over there before the British realise. But you can sort of see that the British do seem to have caught on. They are moving one of their units across to that flank as well. Yeah, look, moving all the way across. Although, if the Americans are fast, these guys charge in. If these guys move up right now, they might just be able to sandwich this force between the two of them. Let's see what happens. The Americans are going to pull this off, though. They're going to have to be quick about it. At the moment, I think there's too little action happening from these guys over here. They need to push up. Otherwise, these guys are going to get isolated between the two British forces. The Americans need to start applying some serious pressure. So, 32 minutes left on the clock. British still very much holding the capture point. Look, we've got more British coming in here. These guys are going to get massively outflanked if they don't do something soon. They're charging in. Oh, but it's only going to work, guys. Are these guys going to charge in as well? They are desperately needed by their allies. I think the inaction of this group over here is going to cost them the battle at the moment, or certainly this part of it. Yeah, no movement from these guys. I think the Americans that just charged in here, they are absolutely doomed. Sandwiched between 3 different British regiments. Nothing they can do. And sure enough, the British move in, form a nice, strong defensive line, and the Americans that charge in just get picked off one by one. There's literally nothing they can do. Look at them trying to hide behind this tree, but they're just being taken out one by one. And the flag bearer doing the only thing he can do, fall back, try and preserve the American flag and keep those reinforcements coming in. Oh no, and here we go. I think, guys, it's a little too late. They might just be able to take out this small British force here. But I think with the British behind them, this might be short-lived. Although, I mean, let's see. The British over here do seem to be distracted, still chasing down the Americans on this side when really they should be moving to the right. So, okay, so the Americans have cleaned up their first regiment. Second British regiment charging in to counter, but without the backup of their allies over there, they also don't stand a chance. So there we go. The Americans right now do seem to be leaderless. Trying to spot their flag over here. Do they have reinforcements coming in? Or are their flags still back here? Oh yeah, look. American flags moving back to the fence line. So yeah, I think that's the end of that attack. While the Americans have made some good progress, without a flag, they won't be able to get reinforcements. So I don't think they'll win that one. Okay, so maybe that's what the British were doing all along. They probably could see the Americans on this side, but they were instead running after the flag. So if you can push the flag away, then that basically brings the attack to a close. Okay, look, now they're moving back to the line. I think the Americans over here will just get whittled down one by one until there's nothing left. Oh, there's some good fighting tonight, guys. Really, really good fighting. And not only good, but super, super cinematic as well. So what have we got happening on this side? Looks like we do have a mist roll again. Oh my goodness. Nighttime and mist. This is just making it impossible for us to spectate. And like, imagine what it's actually like for the soldiers on the floor here. I mean, look. This is what they're firing towards. They can barely make out a few silhouettes in the distance there. I think with this one, they just have to look for the flash of the guns, fire towards them. This is one of the American regiments over here, doing what they can, and we've got 28.5 minutes on the clock. So the Americans are moving and inching closer to the capture point. But at the moment, no final blow able to take it. Looks like the British are moving out on this flank. I think the Americans are beginning to have a real sizable force showing up here. So the British will want to do something about that pretty soon, which I think is what's happening over here. So for now, pretty quiet on the other side. Let's focus on this battle. And there we go, look. British there snuck around. The Americans don't quite seem to realise the British are over here instead. Still facing in the wrong direction. Although it looks like they are starting to cotton on. Yep, some men there moving behind the fence for more protection. As the British forces fire into them from the top of this hill. Yeah, look, there we go, guys. The Americans realising they're outnumbered, moving away, and then the British moving up to take the fence line and secure that nice defensible position. One of the players there shouting for King George. Very historically accurate. There we go, guys. The Americans retreating back to their spawn point, looking to reform. Try that attack once again when the conditions are more favourable. Okay, look, on this side, we do have a huge American attack coming around here. They are arriving behind the British forces. Do they have flags? Yep, we've got one flag here. Will help with the British being able to get their respawns in. I wonder if the British know that they're here yet. There we go, look, and fighting begins. Having to right-click quite a lot at the moment to get those flags on top of the units. It's the only way we can see where everyone is in this battle today. It's just so dark and foggy. Here we go, guys. The British fighting against the Americans over there. Zoom out once again. Have a quick survey of the battlefield, see what's happening. So we currently have 25 minutes and a bit on the clock. The British still have the capture point in the centre there, nice and secure. Doesn't look like the Americans will be taking it anytime soon. And actually that American force we saw over there being wiped out as we speak. So I turn around, looks like the Americans have spawned back in and will be moving back in for another attack. Let's see if they're more successful on the next one. So I think for now, let's zoom in on the Americans. Let's see what's happening on their side. Fog that we saw earlier, clearing just a little bit. Visibility is better than it was maybe 5 minutes ago. It looks like we've got 2 American regiments choosing to move straight up the main road towards the enemy.
God damn it, Hobson.
I mean, this is quite a good position. British over here holding with the artillery, sort of giving them some protection. But this regiment from the British. We've also got a second British regiment further down the hill here. Oh, that volley took out quite a few of them. Saw quite a few men go down there. This blob from the Americans, though, just look at it. There must be like, what, 60, 70 players in this one blob alone? Very impressive. Half of the American force here. Just going straight through the centre. I love it. No tactics. Just sheer brute force. Straight through the middle. I mean, so far so good. And their positioning is really good as well. With the protection of the fence line. A few British here trying to fire at them from the church, but it looks like there are a few skirmishes from the Americans are moving towards the church just to clear out those snipers. I think this is quite a good position. It offers quite a lot of protection, which means the Americans will be easily getting more spawns in than they have men dying. Let's hope they're inflicting more casualties on the British, who I would say right now have slightly less defensible positions. They are purely relying on the angle of the hill there. I will say though, for now, I'm not sure the Americans can charge in. The British do have healthy numbers on this side. They're going to have to think of a tactic quick if they're going to make it through to take this out. I think a cheeky bit of Napoleonic divide and conquer might be in order here. They can find a way of attacking these lines one by one without all of them getting engaged. That would help them considerably. Interesting. The British repositioning. And actually this line on their far right flank, their right, obviously our left, is moving back towards the control points. Maybe they anticipate an American charge happening very, very soon. I see. Are they going to move straight to the front, or are they going to try and mask their numbers? No, okay, looks like they're just going in. Seeing if they can take out the British or the Americans. And actually, you know, attacking from this side, really, really good shout. Because they are attacking from an angle where the enemy don't have quite so much cover. Look at this. Nice, clear line of sight straight into the rear of the American forces. These guys here will be racking up so many kills right now. Joined by more British infantry here, doing what they can. Oh, there we go, guys, look. This small American force now being absolutely destroyed by 3 British regiments. Where are the rest of the Americans? I see they're over here. So they're trying to get a flank. Which is good. This means they're distracting some of the British forces finally, which will help out their allies in the middle. Let's just see this this volley fire play out. Just look at the smoke move across the battlefield. That's going to be making it very, very difficult to see where the enemy are.
They're running away. They're running away. Keep it up.
See the rest of the battle there playing up on the hill. Does look like the Americans are fairly victorious on this side. Splitting up those British forces. Oh, but look, this main American attack here falling back down the road. I think they just lost a few too many men. In fact, let's look at the carnage. Look at that. That will be a lot of tickets lost for the American side. Checking the scores at the moment. It does look like the British are ahead in terms of the number of men killed. There are 2 ways of winning this battle. One is for the Americans, who are the attackers in this scenario, to take the control point, which is over here, just basically on that tree line just there. The other way they can win is if they whittle the opponent down to no tickets left for their team, which it's very difficult to see, but you can just about make out the blue and the red bars where it says taking losses. Those blue and red bars reach 0, then that means it's over for that team, and that team routes from the battlefield. So each team only has a certain number of lives. Let's see what else is happening. Small American attack on their right flank. Let's get in there and see what's happening. Or not happening, as it turns out. I think they just need to get the flag out of there. Someone needs to pick that up. Run it back. Yep, there we go. Come on, guys. Get out of there. Rescue the flag. Oh, no. There we go. There's no claiming that back now. The British have taken it. Not a huge loss. There's still time for another attack. It does mean for a couple of minutes that that American regiment won't be able to get respawns in until their flag comes back. So for the short term, that will give the British a small advantage. Okay, so the Americans moving over to the right-hand side. Look at this. Oh yeah, look, they don't like the look of that. They got lines upon lines of British infantry waiting for them on the fence line there. I think wise shout from the commander there. Pull back. Try attacking from somewhere else. I think what the Americans need at the moment is just a lucky break. If they can find a way for one unit to try and distract maybe 2 of the enemy somewhere else and isolate the other 2. You know, a little bit like they did at the beginning when they had that huge attack on the right-hand flank here, and they managed to make some pretty good progress while most of the British were distracted over here. They kind of need another breakthrough like that. The Americans in this battle have been dangerously close to breaking through a number of times. In fact, one time they were really, really close to the church and the capture point. So let's see if they can do it again. Looks like for now they are just consolidating most of their forces over here. And we do have a final American regiment as well, moving towards the front line. I wonder what they'll do. Whether they'll team up with the Allies over on the right there, or choose to attack on the American left flank. Very nice to see another American force there moving up. Oh, and a huge charge from the Americans over here towards the British lines. It's like we're watching from a helicopter. An American Revolution period helicopter. There we go, look at that. The British just having no choice but to fall back there. I think that was wise. Most of the British had fallen back to the fence line. That one unit was out by itself.
Fire over the friendlies. Fire over our friendlies. Nope, Yankee right there. Shoot that Yankee. Shoot that Yankee on the fence. Yankee on the fence. They're in the... Yeah, they're to the right. We're aiming.
Okay, look at this. Americans charging in. Will they have the numbers? This game, honestly, the rate at which you charge makes a huge difference. If you can get your entire force to charge in one cohesive blob, it makes a huge difference. I think my worry here is that that charge is just staggered. Like, only half the Americans actually charged in, and the ones that did, they're just trickling in one by one. It's not going to have the momentum it needs in order to take the fence line from the British. Just look at the British flags here. They have a really, really strong presence on the fence line. There we go. Nice historically accurate banter there. Okay, British are counter-attacking though. I mean, this could be good. With the British now moving towards the Americans do still have a fairly sizable force back here. So if they can take out a lot of the British here, that could work in their favour. Here, look at this. More of the British charging in from this side. Let's see if the Americans can withstand this counter-attack. More British coming in. Two larger British units choosing to hold the fence line. That's it, guys. Not looking too hopeful for the Americans on this side again. The 2nd British Regiment here choosing to mount the fence, charge in. I think their officer has realised that they have the numerical advantage. He's commanding his forces all in attack. There we go, look at that. The Americans get cleaned up. Nothing but British left on this side of the battlefield. Moving across. There is another attack happening here. Look, the Americans making a bit of a gambit and a play towards the capture points. See the red line going down there, but this is a very, very small force. I think the British will see it coming. Look, they're already moving a lot of men back towards the capture point. Because that red bar's got to go down. It's got to fill up with a blue bar for the Americans, and then they've got to hold it for a number of minutes. And I think, guys, it's just not going to happen with all these British men on the way. Hey, Short King. Long time no see, bud. Yeah, honestly, it has been a long time. I've decided finally to get back into a bit of live streaming, so consider the ones I've been doing today a bit of a practice run before we get back to it for real. So some nice, easy, casual live streams. How have you been, bud? It's been a while, hasn't it? Have you been, affected by the recent sort of Bannerlord DDoS attacks while the events have been going on? I did try and stream the BRE event today, but yeah, unfortunately it wasn't to be. I think the servers were under some pressure from an unknown third-party source, let's say. There we go, look at this. The British have taken the church. Let's just move in. See if there's any Americans that remain. Nope, they've literally got all of them. Look, the brave Americans there attempting to take the capture point, but they weren't able to do it. What a shame. Let's move back out the church. Back into the action. So it looks like we do a little lull in the fighting at the moment. The Americans moving backwards, reconvening their forces in the dark. which I'll be honest is a crying shame, guys, because in the dark it does make it so much more difficult for us to see. More American regiments spawning in, getting their reloads in, and they're about to head towards the front line.
What do you think makes somebody
Oh, look at this. The British surprising this American line here, coming in from the flanks with the defensive fence line as well. There we go. Nice play by the British there. Not a game changer, but a way to very quickly whittle down the attackers' tickets. In fact, look at that. The attackers are now on breaking, which is the stage below taking losses. If they run out of tickets, it will basically allow the British to win the day before the timer runs out. So, I mean, the Americans are running out of options. They're going to need to attack and take the control point. I think it's going to be near impossible for them to win the victory point based on number of kills. So their only chance is to do a full attack the control point and try and take it. So I think, guys, as the event comes to a close, I think we will see an all-out rush attack from the Americans as they get more and more desperate. Yeah, Short King, interesting, bud. So all the American events that have been running on Bannerlord, it sounds like they've been okay. Short King, what time do the American events actually take place? Because obviously I tend to cover the European ones just because it's a more similar time zone to myself in the UK. But I mean, as long as they're not too late, I mean, I could step in and cover some of them, bud, at some point. You know, let's say here, the latest I can probably stay up on like a Friday night or something, you know, would be maybe 1, 2 in the morning for us here. I don't know, food for thought. I'd be keen to, you know, support our American brothers across the waters. Give them some promotion for their events. Yeah, okay, Friday, Sunday, 8 PM EST. Which is the good one, actually, because that's the time zone which is closer to me. Okay. I'll do some research, bud. Watch this space. Watch this space. There's something poetic about an American and a Brit talking about stuff online while we're watching a American War of Independence stream. I bet neither side saw this coming when it was all taking place, you know, all those years ago. It's nice to know that even after all of this, we're still friends. Here we go. American forces moving towards the far left flank of the fields. Okay, this is interesting, guys, because predominantly for most of the match, the Americans have mostly attacked on the far right side over there. They are moving to the left. Looks like we've got 3 regiments here. 1 flag, 2 flag, 3 flags. So this is the bulk of the American force. Not sure where the final 4th American regiment is, but the Americans are getting aggressive. Oh, House Cedarfall. What a beautiful name for a clan. Very cool. Here we go. Look at this. Americans moving across the open field. Look at how many of them there are. These are all players, guys. Every single man. I think we've got about 100 and something strong line here. So they move into the front. Huge, huge attack. Look at this. They are surrounded by the British as well. British having a nice strong line there. Let's see what happens. Will the Americans be able to take this one? 7 minutes left on the clock. British also down to breaking, but I think it's not going to be enough. The Americans need to find a way to push through. Look at this, strong British lines here, firing towards the Americans on the front line. I think the Americans maybe have a chance to attack right now. Maybe, if they're lucky, they might have one more opportunity to attack after this one, depending on how quickly this one goes. They've got all 4 flags on this side. Okay, so this is the entirety of the American force. The British are closing in though, look at this. Nice pincer movement. The British are wrapping their lines around the American forces. They don't want to be too ballsy though, they're nice and controlled. Because obviously they need to make sure that the Americans don't win this. They don't want to be rash and charge in. Remember, the British are the defenders. All they have to do is stop the Americans pushing through. And they can win the fight in the next 6 minutes. So they're not risking anything. Playing it nice and safe with this strong defensive position. Let's get a close-up view of the British over here.
No, he's had a concern. Take us a little bit, and we got it.
Moving down the line.
Direct southeast. You're gonna hit friendly.
Oh, it all comes down to this, guys.
Right down this.
3 minutes 20 left on the clock.
Nice job. There's 3. There are 3. What the fuckers? Don't run down the line. Yeah, we have friendlies in front of us.
Look at that, British forces charging in. Getting really, really close now. What's left of the Americans is just down here. Not sure what's happened, but they seem to have lost 2 of the banners while they've been here. So their reinforcements will be running out. Someone needs to pick up this last flag. I think, guys, they're done for. If I was the Americans now, I would just be trying to get those flags out of there. Just run them back as far as possible. The Americans are spawning back at the main point with only 2 minutes 30 seconds left on the clock. I mean, there really isn't much they can do. They've just got to get bayonets on, charge in to the front line. I'm not even sure if there's time for reloads. This is a desperate, desperate assault now. I mean, looking at the timer, 2 minutes 20. I'm not even sure if the guys there have enough time to make it across the field. I mean, maybe. But they need to get going. What's left of the Americans here are holding on for dear life. Look at this. With these huge British lines everywhere they look. Just British, British, and more British. In the distance there, you can see the final American assault as they just make a final emergency push towards the capture point by the church there. All they need to do, guys, is start capping it before the timer gets down. And then somehow they're going to have to try and hold on to it against these British guys who will just turn around and charge towards them. In fact, 1 British regiment here already moving to counter. It looks like we do have another British regiment actually inside the church as well. Here we go, guys. All comes down to this. Can the Americans push through in the next 1 minute 15 seconds? Come on, guys. There's no time. You've just got to get up there. No reloads. Just get those bayonets on. Head into the fight. Go on. You can do it. Let's recreate history. Get in there. This strong British line, though, still holding. 45 seconds on the clock. I don't know what these guys are doing. They've just got to get in there. They've just got to get in. There we go, guys. Look. Remainder of the British forces there. Moving across. Look at this. They're like ants just scurrying over the hill. Every single one of these guys a real player. There we go, guys. As the counter goes down, the Americans have 20 seconds left. And I think that's it. There's no way they're going to take it now in the next 20 seconds. Look, most of their men still over here, rushing towards the front line, but they're not going to make it. 10 seconds left. The British, doing what the British do, they will go back to their campsites, have a nice cup of tea, and pat each other on the back. That was a job well done. And that round comes to a close, and the Americans, or should I say, sorry, the British take the victory in that round. Oh my goodness, what a great battle, guys. Really enjoyed that one. I think we've got time to stick around for one more, I think. This is only ever going to be a short live stream tonight, but I think, guys, let's just keep going for one more battle. And hopefully the next one won't be a nighttime battle as well, which will hopefully make things a bit easier for you guys to see. There's the battle report. So yeah, you can see the Americans there doing that initial early charge around the right-hand side. making some progress into the tree line, but they just get knocked backwards. Then I think we're coming up to the time where they push around on the American left flank, which should be coming up any second now. Yeah, look, here it goes. All 4 regiments attacking on the left-hand side there. Huge final push. Mad scramble to the capture point, and there we go. The British take it. Look at the number of casualties as well. The British, being defensive, obviously took less casualties than the Americans. Really good to see. So here we go, guys. So looking at the numbers at the moment, looks like we do have a few players leaving or changing sides. But I think we do have a solid 300 or so players who will be involved in this next match. If we switch to the spectator mode, what are we playing? Okay, we're playing the okay, yeah, this is the Civil War map, isn't it, with the bridge. Interesting. There we go. Hopefully the devs will keep it on the daytime mode. Much easier for us to see in this mode. Guys, you know what? We'll start off spectating, and maybe as the event goes on, we might actually jump into one of the teams. Come on, guys. Keep it on the daytime mode. So much easier to see. So it looks like we do have the British once again being the defenders in this scenario. You can see the capture point here, up on top of a hill. And this is a really interesting map, guys, because if you look down the hill, you'll notice that there is a huge river between the Americans and the British. And literally the only way to cross this river is the bridge right there. So what we are about to see is a huge assault by the Americans as they try to take the bridge and get to the other side and take the control point. So let's take a look. We focus on the Americans for now. Move through these trees. You can just see the Americans arriving on the field. One regiment here. Second one with the blue flag coming down the road. 2 more regiments arriving across the fields. I think wise move, waiting for their allies to arrive. Because right now the British have a huge presence on this side. In fact, look at it. They are holding one side of the bridge. One regiment pushed right up. Look at this. Looks great with the men down the front knelt down. In fact, guys, let me just get a screenshot of that. That could absolutely be a future video thumbnail right there. Very cool. And then just behind them, up on the hill, more British regiments just waiting for the Americans to push through. Didn't see it, but we did hear it. That was a huge volley. Looks like the Americans still deciding what to do. Well, I think let's just take a look at the British again. See if we can watch them do one more volley. There we go, look. Muskets going up. Taking aim. Oh, look at that, guys. That's all the more impressive because every single one of those guys is a player. There'll be an officer commanding them when to take aim, when to fire. All players in that regiment just listening to the proximity chat and firing exactly when they need to. Let's just check nothing's happening on the bridge right now. Don't want to miss out on the action. Okay. So the Americans do seem to have gathered most of their forces here. Look at them. There's so many of them. Even with this number, though. The aim of the game here, basically, guys, is to get those flags across to the other side so they can start spawning men. I think I just heard from the commander there that they will be aiming to move right once across. So let's see if they can do it. Huge push from the Americans. Look, here they come. Moving across the bridge. So cinematic. Look at this. Smoke from the muskets. More Americans just piling in. Look at the bodies on the bridge here. Can they overwhelm that first initial British line? The British are holding strong there. Do the Americans have any more men? It looks like the rest of the army is just closing in. Oh, look at that. And not able to take the bridge. But the British now doing a counter-attack. This guy running for his life. There we go, guys. The British defending the bridge successfully. Doing a small counter-push. But the officer realising that they're against quite a few American spawns over here. Deciding to move back. Wise, I think. They are the defenders in this scenario, so no point getting too aggressive. What a beautiful charge by the Americans there. Just look at this. You can just see the number of bodies piling up. That was right there, guys. That was 200 real players charging across the bridge, attempting to break through the American or British forces. Sorry, it's the blue uniforms that's confusing me, guys. I think historically the British did have some blue, some red uniforms, and possibly even some green uniforms.
Listen. Don't counter-charge. When they charge, you shoot, spear wall, you hold position. Okay? Don't counter-charge on the bridge. It's very dangerous.
Yeah, there we go. Officer dishing out some good advice there. Don't counter-attack once the enemy attack. So guys, do you know what? I've not actually seen this tactic before. Normally, both teams tend to hold back a little bit. You know, preferring to hold this high ground and fire into the enemy as they come across the bridge. But actually, that tactic is really, really solid. Because that completely blocks off the escape route. And the only option the attackers have is to try and leap over the sides of the bridge. Attack from the rear like this. But every time they're fixed in position, the infantry on this hill can fire volley after volley down into the bridge. And just look at the vantage point they've got here, guys. Very, very easy to get those hits if all the enemy stuck just here. I'm not sure what those guys are on about, but it sounds like an interesting regiment, that one. What's happening with this one? We've got TL-80 front loader leading this British contingent. So guys, I think it's only a matter of time before we see one more charge across the bridge. And I am so looking forward to seeing the next one. Just look at this. I mean, this is some Ridley Scott level of epicness right here. In fact, I'm going to be as bold as to say even better than something Ridley Scott could do. Guys, who did it better? This channel? Ridley Scott? Let me know in the chat. Got movement on the far side here. Oh, look, the Americans coming in for another charge. So let's see it from the British perspective here. Firing into the Americans as they move across the bridge. The Americans can't even get close. Look at this. They are absolutely charging in. Come on, guys, get some kills. In fact, so many men coming in, it's like it's becoming a bit of a slideshow, guys. Sorry, the frame rate's dropping just a little bit here. There's so much going on. There's just too many bodies on screen for the game to handle. In fact, so many bodies on screen that my computer has actually just crashed the game. Amazing. So guys, let me switch back to the main camera. I will just reboot it quick and we'll get back in there. But what an absolutely incredible fight that was. So beautiful to see the Americans charging across the hill there. There we go. Game is just booting back up. So give me a couple minutes, guys. We'll get back into the action and see how this one comes to an end. Assuming, you know, that the server didn't crash. Yeah, okay, nice. I can still see it there. So I think it was just us. There we go. Let me switch back to the main game camera. Should hopefully come through any second. Let me one sec, guys. Oh, there we go. Just as I move, sod's law, obviously, it comes back. So here we go. Back to the game camera, and we will carry on exactly where we left off. So guys, I don't know about you. I feel like getting into the action. Let's jump in with the American forces and let's join them for a round or two as they move across the battlefield. So here we go. We'll do a bit more spectating in just a second, but what we're going to try and do is get involved, and we are going to witness this charge face on. In fact, look, it looks like we've joined at just the right time. Another attack is happening. Let's get those bayonets on quick. There we go. Bayonet on. I think, guys, just to make sure that we don't die before it happens, let's just kneel behind this wall. And we will let the first wave go first and then charge in second. Oh, guys, this is tense. Absolutely tense. I feel like a soldier storming the beaches of Normandy. Okay, the goal is left, guys. Across the bridge, if we get there, move left and support our forces. Here we go, guys. We're charging in. Officer there, doing some good instructions. Looks like the enemy just volleyed, which means while they're reloading, we're going to attempt to get in. So we're just going to let a few of these guys go first. And then we will follow up the rear. There we go. I think that's enough. Let's get ourselves right in the middle of the action. Here we go. Good luck, everyone. Good luck. Oh, no. Go on. Bayonets down. Just get in there and attack them. Oh, we get taken out. Look at that. Ooh, and very nice new graphics from the War of Rights team. I think this has all changed since I last played. Take a look. Dying in formation means we lose less tickets, less points for our team. Come on, can we spawn in before the charge comes to an end? I think it might be a little bit too late, guys. So let's go back to spectator mode for now. Just zoom out from where our body was. You know, we did our best, guys, but we didn't quite make it. We're in there somewhere. And the British, once again, hold on to the bridge. Do you know, I think this might be the most effective tactic that I've ever seen for holding this bridge in War of Rights. Usually, with most charges, some men break through and head to the left or the right. And usually the way that the attackers win this is you just need to get your flags through, move them over to one side, and then just get your spawns in over here on this side of the river, somewhere further away where the enemy can't get you. But I mean, in this case, they can't even make it across the bridge. And actually, the staggered fire that these guys are doing, where they fire line by line, is really, really effective. It's really, really good to see such sort of cohesive tactics being employed. I almost hope at some point in the round they take a step back and just give the attackers a little bit of a chance. Do you know what I mean? So I think, guys, let's spawn in once again, and we will do exactly what we just did. Spawn in. Hopefully they won't charge before 15 seconds. And then see if we can make a difference. I think the Americans just need all the numbers they can get, so us adding just one more man hopefully will make some sort of difference. Here we go. 40 seconds until go time by the looks of it. The Americans will be trying once more. Although it does feel like there are far fewer of us this time compared to last time. Maybe that's just me. We go, reloads in. Get the bayonet on. Pointy side, facing towards the enemy. Oh, here we go, guys. Here we go. Charge! Get in there. Oh, guys, this is what we live for. This is what we live for. Well, and die for, apparently. Go on, let's go, guys. Get in there. Charge. Oh, we get taken out. Add to the pile of the bodies. My goodness. The Americans just do not stand a chance in this one, do they? What a shame. And there we go. The game coming to a bit of a slideshow while all that happens. Look at that. Once again, my PC struggling to cope with all the action that's happening. Let's take a look at the options, guys. See if we can reduce the number of bodies. I think there is a way to... yeah, here we go. So if we just decrease this maybe to 50 or so, that might hopefully help a little bit with the smoothness. Yeah, look, there we go. Now that the game doesn't have to work out rendering so many stacked bodies. In fact, you know what? I'd say in this game, that's probably the first time I've ever had that problem. Because usually it's okay if, like, you know, the bodies are spread out a little bit, so they don't have to interact with each other. It's not so intensive on the physics. But having hundreds of bodies just stacked up in one place like this, yeah, I think the physics is working overtime to sort of calculate all of that in real time. So let's see, 29 minutes left on the clock. Americans still not able to move across. You know, guys, I think this is it. I don't think there's going to be any way for the Americans to move across here unless the British stop playing so damn well. I think really the blockage is just this regiment here. This regiment sat right at the entrance. It's just impossible for the Americans to get the momentum they need to move through. Oh, fair enough. Thought there was an attack happening there. Looks like just a Rambo moving across. I almost hate to say it. I think the only way the Americans are going to win this is to hang back and actually try and attack the enemy from this shore using nothing but firepower alone. And it's a tough one, guys, because usually the only way that you really have time to win with those conditions is if you start that tactic from the get-go. With only 27 and a bit minutes left on the clock, I don't know if the Americans are going to have enough time to get the kills victory, especially as they've lost so many men already trying to take the bridge. Still, let's stick around for one final charge, guys. I think given that this one's getting so repetitive, we'll just watch one more charge, see if the Americans can break through. If they can, amazing. If not, let's bring this stream to a close. So let's see. This is the last one then, guys. Can the Americans do it on this charge? For anyone joining, the Americans need to make it across this bridge up to the capture point, which is the 2 flag icon up on the hill. They have 4 British regiments standing in their way, and this bridge is the only way that they can break through against these very well-trained British redcoats. Well, in fact, not redcoats, they're wearing blue in this one, but British regiments nonetheless. This is the view the British up on the hill get, looking down onto the bridge, just waiting for the Americans to do their next charge. Some movement happening over there. Love this British regiment. Oh dear. Firing more volleys towards the enemy. Look at these great flags here. I don't think we saw those in the event last year. The War of Rights team have been absolutely cooking. Okay, look at this. Is this another charge coming through? It is. The Americans trying to make their way across the bridge once again. Straight into the British forces. Have they managed to get any kills? There was definitely one there, that guy with his musket. There we go, look at that. More American reinforcements coming through. This officer with the pistol doing what he can, not liking what he sees and trying to hot tail out of there. Somehow this guy in green has survived. Not for long though, I imagine. Who is this guy? He seems to be immune to bullets. I think he was one of the only people who charged that and managed to come back. A few Americans here. If I say a few, I think this guy's actually died standing upwards. This seems to be the only American left on the bridge. Running for his life. Just look at that, guys. Another huge, huge pile up of bodies. Oh, and that British guy getting taken out by his own allies. Oops. One British Rambo coming across. He goes down as well. Guys, do you know what? I think given the repetitiveness of this particular round, let's break. Guys, quick one tonight. Really, this stream was just about abandoning the main Bandlord stream we'd normally do on a Friday because we had some technical issues, so we did a bit of a War of Righteous live stream instead. But guys, for everyone that tuned in, thank you so much for watching. This has just been a bit of a tech test, really, coming back to it, making sure that all my kit still works. Pleased to say it absolutely does tonight. So I'm hoping to do a few more live streams as time goes on. But for everyone that tuned in today, thank you so much. We'll be doing some more of these in the future. So guys, Matt's Fiefdom signing off. Thank you very much.